Peace and blessings is real. First and foremost, I want to take this time and give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh through his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, for allowing this word to come out. And I hope you sincere brothers and sisters out there is edified by this word, man. And the name of the lesson is called Extreme Grief and Mourning Spiritually Killed a Man that was alive for 7 days and 7 nights. That's right, man. This is going to be somewhat of a sobering word. The title pretty much speaks for itself, but again, I'll rename the title of this lesson and give you a metaphorical understanding of what we're going to deal with tonight in this particular word, man. Again, the name of the lesson is called Extreme Grief and Mourning Spiritually. Extreme grief and mourning spiritually killed a man that was alive for 7 days and 7 nights. Now, when you pause and analyze the name of this lesson, you're going to know that what we're saying in this word is through the pain of grief and mourning, okay, a man was killed spiritually, a man that was alive, okay, a live man through the pain of grief and mourning is going to be spiritually killed, okay, for 7 days and 7 nights, man. Now, if anybody is familiar with the book of Job, then you know Job lost mostly everything from his family up to his wealth. And we're going to deal with that tonight in Job chapter 2, verse 13. And also in this word, I'm the individual, I'm the man that we're going to be speaking about that have been spiritually killed even though I'm alive for 7 days and 7 nights due to extreme grief and mourning. In Job 2, verse 13, it says, "So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great." You see that? So what you got going on in Job 2 and 13, it deals with Job's 3 friends, which was Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. Okay? According to Job 2 and 13, they sat down with Job. Okay, they sat down with Job upon the ground. Now, the significance of them sitting upon the ground is the fact that the ground, sitting on the ground, was a customary posture reserved strictly for mourning. So Job's 3 friends sat down with him upon the ground. And how long did they sit down with him on the ground? 7 days and 7 nights. Now, the significance of 7 days and 7 nights is the fact that it's the appointed and designated time period for those that mourn. All up and through the Old Testament, you have various examples of 7 days of mourning. Even in Sirach 22, verse 12, it tell you, 7 days do men mourn for him that is dead, man. So 7 days and 7 nights of mourning, okay, was very customary. Now, when it comes to mourning, a good way to mourn is weeping, crying, and displaying sorrow deeply. Okay? And Job, who was alive, this is what he experienced. And even though he was alive, he was in a state of being deceased, man. And I can definitely relate to this. Okay? In Job 2 and 13, it says, so they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights. And none, the none that it speaks of, and none of his 3 friends spake a word unto him. In other words, not one word was being uttered. There was no communion or conversation going on. During a time of mourning, it was complete silence from the Job friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, along with Job. Not one word was being uttered. There was no communion. There was no conversation. It was complete silence, man. The scripture says in Job 2 and 13, for they saw that his grief, whose grief? Job's grief. Job's adversity, Job's mental and physical pain and sorrow. Job's mind, body, and soul was very great. In other words, his grief was extremely powerful and intense, man. Cold-blooded, right? What's the name of the lesson, man? Extreme grief and mourning spiritually killed the man that was alive for 7 days and 7 nights, man. And in this word, I'm speaking for myself, okay? I am currently alive in a state of being deceased. Not from a literal sense, but spiritual sense, man. I feel like I have lost my wife and my children. And when I say I feel like I've lost my wife and children, because spiritually, they don't hear me, see me, they don't understand me. It's like I don't exist. It's like I'm invisible. You see? And when you realize that it's a form of pain, it's a form of grief. Okay, even though I haven't lost them literally, like Job lost everything, almost everything from his family and wealth, from a spiritual sense, from a spiritual connection, I've lost my wife and my children, man. You see? Not literal sense, but from a spiritual sense. I mean, they have no clue of what I say to them when I try to deal with them. They're clueless. So when I'm dealing with spiritual pain and suffering, I really don't have an outlet unless I turn to my bro. So when you in a situation like this, my only drug and medicine that I know is to turn to Yahweh and fast and prayers night and day, man. And speaking of prayers, fasting and prayers night and day, that's exactly what it speaks of in Luke 2 and 37. It tells you to what? Serve Yahweh with fastings and prayers night and day, man. And that's how you got to do it. What's the name of the lesson? Extreme grief and mourning spiritually killed the man that was alive. Okay, the grief and the mourning killed him for a duration of 7 days and 7 nights, man. And that's exactly what I'm feeling right now, man. Cold-blooded, man. You know, in this spiritual walk, once the Lord open your eyes to this truth, once that flashlight is sparked, now you feel the need to share that privy information to those closest to you, those that matter the most, so you guys can walk together, man. That's the ultimate goal. You know, me being the head of the household, everybody in the household should be following me. But in today's world, it's just not set up like that. Yahweh Shah spoke about, causing division in the household. And what that stems from is, in a man's household, if he's a spiritual man and everybody else in the household is not on the same accord, that right there is a form of division. And Yahushua is going to really expose that. Okay? That's why it tells you a man's foe is those in his own household. And that's exactly what I'm dealing with. My foes are not those that's in the street. My foes are those in my own household, man. Cold-blooded, right? Listen, man, again, as we get ready to close out this word, what's the name of the lesson, man? Extreme grief and mourning spiritually killed a man that was alive for 7 days and 7 nights, man. And that man that's alive, okay, that feels like he's spiritually dead due to extreme grief and mourning for a duration of 7 days and 7 nights. We ain't talking about Job. We talking about myself, man. And I hope, you sincere brothers and sisters, man, understand this word tonight. I'm not going to go into extreme detail, but just know that in this spiritual walk, you're going to really have some tough times, some painful times. And the reality of it is, man, when you privy to biblical information that most people don't have access to, and you try to give them this information so they can understand you when you're talking about these particular situations, and you find out that you're in a world by yourself, pretty much, lonely. Listen, man. Extreme grief and mourning is real, and you don't literally have to lose someone. You don't literally have to lose a loved one to experience extreme grief and mourning, man. I hope you sincere brothers and sisters was edified by this word. And we give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, through his only begotten son, Yahushua, for allowing this word to come out, man. Shalom.